Ymedia Group, the fastest growing media group in North America.
Hello and welcome back to Ymedia Newsroom, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the people in Venezuela as they're dealing with one of the worst natural disasters in decades after two powerful earthquakes struck the country within minutes of each other. The twin earthquakes measured at 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude, causing a widespread destruction across northern Venezuela and including Caracas and the coastal area near Moron. At least 164 people died and thousands have been injured right now. The death toll is increasing as every time we check the stats. With rescue crews, they're still searching through collapsed buildings. Venezuela has declared a national state of emergency, while hospitals, transport systems, and major infrastructures are under severe strain. So now this is very significant because we have those images. You can go full screen and you can see that there's buildings that have collapsed. And you can see Venezuela has declared this national state of emergency as are survivors during this time, during this aftershock of what we're seeing here. Now, damages have been reported to airports, transportation systems. The latest numbers that we have is 164 people have lost their lives, nearly 1,000 people have been injured, and this is very significant. This disaster comes at a very difficult time for Venezuela, a country already struggling with economic instability, weakened infrastructure, and limited public resources. Now, a large-scale earthquake response requires hospitals, emergency crews, transportation networks, and international aid to quickly recover from what you're seeing from the devastation, as many of those systems are already under severe pressure. So now the immediate concerns are, while it's saving lives, there's also the long-term challenges of rebuilding the damages that you see of those collapsed buildings and infrastructure, and having to rebuild damaged housing, restore transportation, and prevent public health crisis, right? If water and sanitation and medical systems remain disrupted. And to that, you have President Trump, who has said that he wants to make sure that there is emergency assistance to Venezuela following this deadly earthquake. And this is coming after, Venezuela clearly needs a lot of help from many different countries. So other countries, including European governments, have also signaled a willingness to assist with rescue teams and supplies, and when it comes to humanitarian efforts. The next 48 to 72 hours are very critical to be able to rescue as many people as possible and to be able to get them the help that they need. And now this U.S. assistance could make a major difference when it comes to, deploying help a lot quicker, and when it comes to search and rescue equipment, field hospitals, emergency medicine, and water purification, and temporary shelters that are needed very urgently in this scale of this disaster. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Venezuela, and we'll definitely keep an eye on this to see how this evolves. Now, when it comes to Canadian startup, the funding has fallen about 40% in Q1 of 2026. Canada's startup ecosystem is facing one of its toughest fundraising environments in recent years. According to RBCX, investments into early stage startups dropped 40% during the first quarter of this year, where you have investors that are that are seeing that essentially, more cautious during higher borrowing times and borrowing costs and what would be the economic uncertainty. And economic certainty relies on a lot of different things. It's based on the Kuzma review that's around the corner in terms of Canada's biggest trade agreement and biggest customer being the United States, and where that stands, and what's been taking place with global impacts. And the Iran war was no different because it impacted the global energy security and supply chains. So now you have artificial intelligence that's continuing to attract significant investment in many different sectors like fintech, health tech, and consumer technologies. But when it comes to venture capital, it's becoming increasingly selective on where that money goes. That's why we've seen the drop about 40% when it comes to startups. So now when funding declines, it affects the pre-seed and seed companies that need that money to be able to bring their vision, their technology to fruition. So when venture capital firms are prioritizing profitability over rapid growth, then that's going to be an issue. Essentially, why you would invest in a startup is because of the future potential it has based on whether there's an IP involved, whether, what problem it solves and how quickly it can go to market and how profitable it's going to be. And those are some of the challenges of companies that need money to get to those aspects. So now, with AI remaining as one of the few sectors still attracting strong investments, it's, in many different sectors, as long as AI is involved, it's still able to get some of that funding, while other startups are having issues when it comes to getting the funding. And that, of course, disrupts is it a viable business? Is it going to grow as projected? And that also means that many startups are delaying expansion plans and hiring plans. These companies that have been affected, there's about 61 of them, and the ones that were still able to get funding, you're looking at AI related funding has been around $190 million of what was seen in Q1. And so this early stage startup drives innovation and job creation, and this is something that is significant. So, looking at all the different measures of where the government is, where Canada's state of economy is what we're measuring today. And as we keep an eye on what it means, because we've seen inflation numbers go up for Canada as well, even though the unemployment rate has come down slightly from the previous month, but we're still seeing this at very high levels. And the fact that Canada is in a technical recession is our situation. Now we are coming to an end of a month, and we'll be able to see what the June numbers look like. So that'll be able to give us a better story of how Canada's doing in 2026, given that we've now almost done, half the year. And that's what we'll bring for you once we have those numbers available. And when it comes to stocks, you have the Wendy's share. It's jumped nearly 26%, very significant, after becoming the latest target of retail investors participating in yet another meme stock rally. Now, trading became so volatile that shares were temporarily halted as buying activity surged. The rally appeared largely disconnected from the company's financial performance, and it highlighted the continued influence of social media, communities, and individual stocks. This is significant because here you have a fast food chain that traditionally isn't really, when it comes to their books, their financial statements, it should not be able to be the reason why its stock surged 26%. So this is the whole impact of what we've seen with meme stock rally, where people will rally behind a brand and say, we can push it. So now the stock rose 26% in one trading session. And this is the reason why we're talking about it, because it made headlines. And trading was temporarily halted because it was just so volatile that investors did not know what it means and what it means for the stock prices. Now, retail investors, what they do is they coordinate buying activities online, and then they show the power of the people, right? So, as we have the power of the people who can essentially vote a government in and also protest to get a government to change their policies, same thing's happening on the stock market. When you have retail investors that are able to coordinate how they buy and how long they hold their purchase for, when it comes to these stocks, then it creates these sort of situations where then it has to be suspended because it's just not predictable, as it's very volatile. Now, the company fundamentals did not significantly change to contribute to the 26% rise. And this is the highest level approximately in 7 months for Wendy's. The meme stock rallies, what they do is they demonstrate how online communities in chat groups can temporarily overwhelm traditional market valuation. And this has been proven before with GameStop, if you recall. And there's actually a Hollywood movie made on the GameStop situation that happened a few years ago. But this is part of the same thing in terms of what has driven the increase in the stock price. So now, while some investors profit, others buying late often face sharp losses when prices normalize, and that is the trend. Now, the return of the meme stock trading shows that retail investors remains a powerful force. This is something that's been proven in the financial markets. We've seen this a few years ago with GameStop phenomenon that reshaped Wall Street. Watch the movie. I don't recall the name of the film, but it is about GameStop. And if you look it up, you'll be able to see what actually took place behind the scenes as it unfolded. So it's very, very interesting to be able to watch. But it's in these chat rooms like Reddit, right, X, and online communities where they're able to share financial information and indicators with each other and to be able to hold. And that's why that movie is worth a watch to see how the global community comes together for GameStop. And when it comes to AI news, you have OpenAI that has unveiled its first custom AI chip built with Broadcom. And this is OpenAI has unveiled Jalapeno as the name as its first custom designed AI chip developed with semiconductor giant Broadcom. There you have a picture of the two leaders of the company. And the chip is designed specifically for AI inference, the process of running models like ChatGPT after they have been trained. So now, unlike NVIDIA, the general purpose of AI chips is that, in this case, named Jalapeno, is optimizing for AI's own models, right? Allowing the company to process AI requests faster while reducing energy consumption and operating costs, which is very significant because I think ChatGPT has become the most popular AI tool that has been used. It was, first to market for many people. And since using it and since there's been a lot more competitors in the marketplace, it's just taken still the hold on the AI usage. Now, OpenAI says that the chip went from design to manufacturing readiness in just 9 months. Very quick turnaround time, with AI itself helping to optimize portions of the design process. Can you imagine that AI itself helped to be able to make this chip? It's just full circle moment, and this is where things are at, and that's why it just took 9 months to be able to do it. Now, the OpenAI targets 10 gigawatts of computing capacity by 2029. This is significant time where, development time just took 9 months. The target compute capacity is 10 gigawatts by 2029. Very fast, very high in a short period of time. When it comes to AI chip markets, it's expected to exceed about $500 billion by 2030. So that's a huge market in just about, 2.5 years. Very significant. And NVIDIA currently controls roughly 80 to 90% of the AI accelerator market. So now OpenAI is giving it some competition here to NVIDIA. This is what we're watching. And another thing that OpenAI has been involved in, I mean, there's just endless headlines when it comes to the AI sphere. OpenAI, Anthropic, the two most profitable AI companies, have now joined what would be a $500 million project to fight respiratory virus. This comes as another company, Stripe, has also joined them, and other technology leaders have committed $500 million to launch Intercept. It's a nonprofit dedicated to preventing respiratory illnesses such as colds, influenza, and future pandemic threats. This initiative will fund vaccines, antiviral medicine, nasal spray, as well as improve indoor air filtration systems. And the goal is to bridge the gap between early scientific discoveries and commercial developments. The fund will have $500 million, and that is their focus as these AI companies are increasingly investing in medical research. And so, the annual productivity losses from respiratory illness has been estimated to about $600 million globally. A typical adult loses about 15 to 25 days annually due to respiratory infections. So now this $500 million fund is supposed to prevent that, make sure that people, don't lose time away from work and their families. And when it comes to productivity costs, we're looking at that $600 billion globally because people who suffer from respiratory viruses will have to take that much time away. So this is a time we're seeing, since COVID-19, and the race to be able to find vaccines and to be able to have prevention methods. We're seeing a lot more, and that really disrupted, a lot of sectors, obviously, because then work from home started. And so it's interesting to see how these tech companies are now able to look at what are some of the medical breakthroughs that we need to stay more productive. And this is just one of the results. OpenAI, Amazon, Microsoft are now backing a $500 million AI workforce initiative. Yes, you heard it right. These are some of the world's largest technology companies, and now they're committing to this massive amount of $500 million towards retraining workers whose jobs are expected to change because AI. And now this initiative will provide new education, certification, and workforce development programs aimed at helping employees adapt to AI-driven workforce. It's significant because as these are massive AI companies that are aware of the impact of AI, and when it comes to employment, humans remaining employed in these positions. So now this joint industry initiative has put together this fund of $500 million, and its only focus is to retrain, and to be able to retain the employees. Now, we're not sure about how they're going to determine which employees are going to be retained and trained, but this is a fund that is being put out there. Now, the World Economic Forum has estimated that AI could transform hundreds of millions of jobs. Yes, you heard it right. Hundreds of millions of jobs globally over the next decade. And AI adoption among businesses continue to accelerate because they cannot afford to be left behind. So now AI isn't just simply replacing jobs, but it is changing the skills employers expect from workers across nearly every industry. And what's significant is because AI is ramping up and changing so fast that the retraining has to be continuous, because the AI that an employee has learned 6 months ago is not relevant to today, and it won't be relevant to 6 months from now. So this is something that we're seeing these companies address when it comes to keeping their employees retrained and employable. And also because they need them to be. You can't just run a company with just AI bots. Um, well, not now anyway. You still need the oversight with human beings. And when it comes to technology and more business news, Slate has launched a $24,950 electric pickup. So can you imagine being able to have an electric vehicle for less than $25,000? And that is because Jeff Bezos has backed the startup Slate. It is an auto that introduces an electric pickup truck. And there you go, you can go full screen. So you can have a pickup truck that you usually need to be a gas guzzler. Usually it costs so much money, and it kind of looks like a toy when you look at it from there. But yeah, when you drive a pickup, you think that's going to be a lot of gas. And so now the fact that it's electric and it's just less than $25,000, it's making it one of the lowest price EV pickups announced in all of North America. Now, the minimalist truck is designed for affordability rather than luxury, targeting consumers who need a practical work vehicle instead of a premium technology. So if somebody is working in the trades and they need the pickup truck and the space in the back for their job, well, this is keeping them in mind for having an affordable vehicle. $25,000. I'm sure that's probably the base model. And as you do upgrades, it'll be a little bit more expensive. But as the base model, shy of $25,000. And then you have a vehicle for work, and the fact that you're not exposed to the high gas prices that we've been experiencing. So This is significant because it's backed by Jeff Bezos of Amazon. It is fully electric, so this is not a hybrid model where you can still put gas in. It's fully electric and it's focused on affordability. What is taking place is that the competing electric pickups often exceed $60,000. So this is, fraction of the price, not even half, right? So if the average competing electric pickup truck is about $60,000, this is shy of $25,000. So even less than that, $30,000, which would be the halfway point. And the US average new vehicle price is around $50,000. $48,000 to $50,000 is what you would expect for a very average vehicle made in the United States. So this goes even below that. This goes even half that price. So now uh, uh, this high vehicle prices essentially have slowed down electric EV adoptions. Tesla, very expensive. You could have an electric vehicle for, when it first came out, you're looking at, the 80, 90, $100,000 mark. And now you're getting technology has moved so far in advance that you can get, a pickup for $25,000, making this now a low cost option and entry to the marketplace. And now what's interesting is that the numbers don't lie because now their sales have topped 180,000 pre-orders. So Slate Auto says that their customer reservations are surpassing almost imagine just shy of 200,000 vehicles have been reserved. So 180,000, which signals a very strong early demand for affordable electric pickup. And these reservations are not binding sales for them, but they did say that the response that they got for to be able to know what the pipeline should be for assembly, for output, to give those projections, the reservations do matter. And they said that the response suggests a very significant consumer interest in this line of market. This is what we're watching now, where you have that much of people who are interested. And more on AI news. Meta has now eased its pressure on employees after this AI backlash, as Meta is softening parts of its management approach, followed by employee criticism over massive layoffs. We announced about 8,000 layoffs by Meta, which is the parent company of Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp, saying that these AI-related work reassignments and workplace culture is something that the employees are not happy with. To do those mass layoffs, you had Mark Zuckerberg, who's the CEO of Meta, say that, the 8,000 layoffs were to make sure that money goes back into AI efficiency and investment. So they're now laying off because they're seeing that, office morale does matter. And with Amazon, well, they are testing the AI wearables for warehouse. So Amazon is testing wearable technology that could help monitor worker movement and productivity workflows inside the fulfillment centers. As you order anything from Amazon, just know that there are fulfillment centers that look like that, and there are employees who are working in there, making sure they're, able to grab the right things and put it in boxes and ship it out to you as fast as possible based on if you're a Prime user or non-Prime user. But now these wearables are supposed to track how efficient these employees are in the warehouse. Amazon roughly employs more than 1.5 million people worldwide. And so logistics represents one of the Amazon's largest operating costs. And they want to make sure that this automation is getting your goods that you order on the Amazon platform, to market and to your home as soon as possible. And on good news, when it comes to FIFA, well, this is great news for Canada, even though it had some, not such great news yesterday. But the Canadian men's national soccer team have now advanced to the knockout stage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, despite the hard-fought 2-1 loss to Switzerland's men's national football team in its final Group B match. Canada's earlier results, including a dominant 6-0 victory over Qatar's national football team and a draw against Bosnia and Herzegovina national football team, earned enough points to finish second in the group. Canada now advances to the round of 32, where it will face South Africa national soccer team on June 28th in one of the country's biggest World Cup matches in history. That is what we'll be watching, and we'll be rooting for Canada at this time. That's all the time we have for Ymedia Newsroom. I'm Ramona Singh. Until next time, take care and be well.